Continuing on with the Radical Japan box set from Radiance Films, we have number 147 in the Radiance range, which is Nagisa Oshima's Boy. Now, if you're following along as I go through this set, you'll know that Diary of a Shinjuku Thief really set me back. It was a film that really did not speak to me at all and was not one that I could really enjoy. Boy brings me back, but I was cautious going into this one, not sure how I was going to feel about this. But there is some technical aspects of it I think he uses to great effect, and it's also a story that I really kind of warmed to as it went on. It's all about a family on the run, one small Japanese town to the next, not because they're seeking adventure, but because they are running a roadside scam. At the centre of all is a young boy who's forced by his lazy and abusive father and his struggling stepmother to pretend he's been hit by cars so that the parents can extort the unlucky drivers for cash. And it's basically following this family as they move along or throughout Japanese towns and cities, and the young boy's realisation of his life and how it's chaotic and cruel and sometimes fun, but also always changing and no stability. This is a really devastating coming-of-age story. The young boy at the heart of this one is 10 years old, and the things that he's subjected to, the things that he sees, and the toll taken by his body is something that nobody should undertake. And the fact that it's been driven by the parental figures in his life, people who are there to care, protect and look after, it's all the more damning to see these people put their child at danger for just a little bit of money rather than settling down and getting jobs. It's criminality as survival. Scams are more about greed and survival rather than working, settling down. You see them spend the money frivolously once they get it. It's not a case of using that just to survive. They will spend it on whatever just to move on a little bit more, to look for the next scam. Some of the favourite sequences for this were watching the young boy. There's moments where he just leaves, seems, and goes away on little adventures of his own. And there is never any outcry or worry from the parents. In fact, they're almost annoyed whenever he comes back. In fact, the only thing drawing him back is his younger brother, whom he really has this wonderful relationship with, because there is an element of fantasy and reality, especially when these two characters are together and talking, and how they're relating these wonderful stories, particularly of aliens and Andromeda and all these things that kids talk about.
本当にこうなった時は星から別の宇宙人が助けに来てくれるわけ。僕はそういう宇宙人になろうと思っちゅう。なりたかったんじゃ。けんどいかん。僕は普通の子供じゃき。
They're fun and they're engaging stories, but the kids are almost using them as psychological armour against the manipulation that they're getting from their parents. So there is something really fun and creative about the conversations, but also deeply saddening when you realise that they're using these to protect themselves from someone that should be looking after them. I loved the performance of the main actor, Tetsuo Abe, who is absolutely wonderful. He's caught between obedience, survival, and a yearning for something more. And you see that within his performance. You see within his blank stare at looking what's going on. There is a particular moment near the end where there is a realisation to what they have been doing. There is ramifications to what could happen, and that seems to hit that character really hard, but it hits the viewer even more powerfully. I enjoyed this one. I think it was an easy one to attune to, not as good as Death by Hanging, but it really hammers the message more. I think in this one, Death by Hanging, I think is going to be the favourite from the set from this, but Boy was actually really enjoyable, really fun, and has kind of brought me back on track again. There is some things that Oshima does here where he's using colour filters, where he's using black and white or colour film, and it chops between it all, and I really like how that's used and what it's signifying, and I feel like that's something that's came a little bit from Diary of a Shinjuku Thief, but used sparingly and used to punctuate and highlight certain aspects of the film, which I think are far better used here. Here we are in the disc for Boy. Let's go to the special features. We have Jennifer Coates. The Japanese film scholar discusses Boy within the context of Oshima's body of work. His films about children and his interest in true crime stories. Filmed exclusively for Radiance in June 2025. And it runs for 19 minutes, 19 seconds. And it's a really interesting talking head here as she looks at various aspects of the culture of Oshima. I like when she focuses a lot on the boy and certain scenes, highlighting certain elements and her inferences from this. Next we have Nagisa Oshima. In this television interview, Oshima discusses censorship, resistance to authority, and his views on history of Japanese film. Originally broadcast on French television in May 1995, and it runs for 7 minutes, 7 seconds. And they focus a little bit on realm of the senses and the censorship surrounding that. And they show you an extreme excerpt from that film. And it's just weird to think how this was just shown on TV. But yeah, it's an interesting moment, and to hear the man speak himself is really fascinating. Next, we have 100 Years of Japanese Cinema. Made for the BFI, Oshima's documentary celebrates the centenary of cinema in Japan, tracing the history of the silent era from the late 1800s to the more recent years of Hayao Miyazaki and Takashi Kitano. And this runs for 51 minutes, 49 seconds, and it's fascinating. This is going to be something that everyone needs to watch. It's just one of those great documentaries tracking the history of film in Japan, like it says, and it was one of those ones that I could have done with a 4-hour extended version. It was just amazing. And that's the extras for Boy. Cautiously optimistic again going into the last few films, but join me back when we will cover the next one and we'll see how I'm getting on with Oshima as a filmmaker. I'd love to know your thoughts on Boy. Let me know in the comment box below whether you love it, hate it, or fall somewhere in the middle. As always, there's more content up here. You can see more of my stuff. In the description box below are links to Patreon, membership program, and manbfilm.com. Always in which you can support me. Thanks for watching. See you next time.